Record. Oh, thank you. Now I'm recording. Sorry to all of those who are going to be watching this, but I just started recording. We are in lesson 12. There is not, and there is. Let's go back to screen sharing. All right. So some examples. Yesh li rav. There is to me much, or much. So much is the subject here. So in English, we'll normally move the subject to the beginning of the sentence. Much is to me. And even smoother English, I have much. Even better, I have a lot. Normally we wouldn't say much. We'd probably say I have a lot. So there is to me much, or a lot. Any questions on that one? There's a lot of our grammar wrapped up in this little clause. You see the to me right here with the possessive lamed, and then the suffix here, the first common singular suffix. So there is to me much. There is, go ahead, somebody's question.
I mean, even like reading in scripture in the Hebrew Bible, like I guess we'll figure out / learn later like what the little hyphen is and how to kind of structure sentences.
Yeah.
Kind of like see a pattern, and I can't yet.
Sure. So this is called the makef. It is just a connecting line that the Masoretes put in. It really has no rhyme or reason to it. There are several rules that we could learn. You can check it up in the appendix. We normally just won't talk about it because it doesn't help us that much. In some contexts, it can be translated as of, but it's not normally necessary because there are other markers of that we'll cover. So in this context here, this is next to meaningless for us. The Masoretes had reasons for it, and we could talk about it, but especially at this stage in our studies, it's just not helpful for us to talk about. But when people ask questions, that's just what I say. Try not to worry about it right now. And here, don't worry about it at all. It's just telling us that these two words are closely related. And then we just think to ourselves, well, I already knew that. They're right next to each other, but the Masoretes really wanted you to know that they're closely related. The final thing that they can do is tell us that this word has no accent while this one does. You'll see it down here as well. We will not accent the first word if there are two words connected by a makef. But we haven't talked about accents either, and we're not going to talk about accents until lesson 47. So it doesn't really matter right now. Good question, though. So the next one down here, ain. How do we translate ain? Anybody?
There is not.
There is not. So there is not. We haven't really learned this one. We're going to learn about this one in the next lesson. But in it, water. There is not in it water. Water was not in it, or there was no water in it. So there was not. Let's come back to these other examples after we talk about our next grammar. But those are just two words that we need to memorize. They function as essentially as verbs. They fill in the verbal spot in a sentence. So we have to translate it as there is or there is not. Any questions on those two?
I just want to know real quick, and this is because how literal I am, but is that like boar is water, bow is water, or
Mayim is
water?
Mayim.
Okay.
Bow, we'll talk about bow in just a second, but it's a preposition plus a suffix in it. So let's go ahead and go there.
Okay.
Come back to the conjunction. Prepositions. So prepositions is found in lesson 13. If you look on page 48 in the middle, there's a list of 4 prepositions. So bait, it's pronounced just buh, is translated as in or at. The cough with the shava underneath it is translated as like or as. The lamed we've already come across as a possessive lamed can also function straight up as a preposition. Lamed with the shava, to or for in the translation. And then the min, or sometimes just mi, and the noon is lost, can be translated in a number of ways, but from, out of, more than, almost always translated as from, and if that doesn't work, then I work with some of my other options. So these are new vocab words, but they're prepositions. Since they're grammatical terms, we get to work with them separate from our vocab. So bu is in, ku is like or as a comparison. Lamed, to or for, like I give this book to you. And then min can mean from or out of. So I left the house. I went from the house. Min, from. Mabayat would be from the house. All right. You see a really complicated diagram on 49. I have found that to be next to useless, but if you find diagrams and charts to be helpful, go ahead and read the fine print there. It tells you all about it in very kind of complicated terms. But it's trying to show you how some of these are spatial and some of them are temporal. Some have to do with time and some have to do with space. It also tries to show you the relationship between them, but I haven't found it that helpful, so I'm not going to talk about it any more than that. Okay, so let's look at some of our examples.
The water. Okay.
These are going to work. We're going to go back to this one on our screen. So we just got introduced to bait, which means in. So there is not in. Do you see the third masculine singular suffix right here, o? In it, or in him, but here in water.
Yeah.
Wine is a new vocab word.
Right.
There's not in it water. Arcane means surely. That's a new word, vocab word in lesson 14, I believe. But surely, yesh, there is. Then we skip over, or we get to our subject. Surely the Lord is ba makom. So you see the bait right there, and makom, two words. What is makom? Anybody remember that vocab word? It's one of these words here.
It has to be place.
Good.
Place, yeah.
Makom is place. So we have our bait here, in the place. Surely the Lord is in the place. Hazeh means this one. Surely the Lord is in this place. Says this. So we see our preposition there, in. Here's another example.
So this azeh, is it azeh?
Hazeh.
Hazeh?
Yep.
Hazeh, just because. Hazeh, okay.
Are you curious about the pronunciation there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't really make sense to me, but I don't know.
How do you pronounce it?
Well, just I see the other hey there, so azeh, I want to do it like azeh.
Sure. So whenever hey is on the end of a word without a vowel of its own, we know it's a vowel marker. So
just
it's
like English.
Yeah. Well, in a way, yeah.
Like Sarah.
Yeah.
Sarah, like with an
Sarah
R.
with the H or Sarah without an H, it doesn't matter in English. Right?
Yeah.
Pronounce it the same. So rather similar there. That this hey is just marking. It's just a vowel marker.
Okay.
Before Hebrew had vowels, so around the time of King David, Hebrew was written with no vowels, and all the way up until the Masoretes, which was 600 CE, Hebrew had no vowels, but they used letters to mark some vowels. So they would put a hey on the end of a word to mark a vowel, even though they didn't write vowels. They had 3 letters that they used to mark vowels. So the hey, the yod, and the Bob. All right.
Okay.
Let's go ahead. We're going to skip this example. We'll come back to it in just a second. So our prepositions. Let's take a look at, let's see your prepositions. Come on. Show me prepositions. Okay. So Yesh Adonai Bamakom. I'm going to call on people to help me translate. Let's see here. Brian, go ahead and help me translate Olive. And if you need help, you can phone one of your friends here. So Yesh Adonai Bamakom. Are you stuck on any of these words, or do some of them stand out to you as ones that you know? Sorry, Brian, I can't hear you. You might need to unmute your mic.
Sorry. So you said Ish?
Yesh.
The first one?
Yep.
Is that man?
It looks a lot like man. Yesh is the word we just learned that means there is. There is.
Okay. So there is, and then God, or Adonai. And then was that the other one that we just learned, like in this place?
Good. Yep. So the Lord is in this place.
Okay.
All right.
Write that down.
Lindy, can you do bait?
Me again.
No, Lindy. Did I say?
Lindy.
Okay.
Sorry.
Is that in gray because we don't know that word yet?
It's in gray because it's a proper noun.
Okay. So.
Like Joseph.
Okay, so Joseph, and then that's to something.
Good.
Oh, and that's an animal, isn't it?
Well, look on page 49. The tricky thing with doing these exercises is that they rely on new vocab that we haven't covered yet. So
it's Joseph is before, and then another proper noun.
If you pronounce it out loud, it might sound like a word you know.
So, frets.
So it's pronounced far-o, or in some other cases for ra-o, or in English, Pharaoh.
Okay. So Joseph is before Pharaoh.
That's right. So this is a preposition using lamed. It's actually a compound preposition. So the lamed, but panay means face. Face. So Joseph
Okay.
to the face of Pharaoh, or
Okay.
more metaphorically, is before Pharaoh. But in Hebrew, that you will say to the face of, or to the side of, like to the hand of, layad. If someone is beside you, you say layad, to my hand. And lifnei, to my face, is before. All right, let's see here. Sarah, can you do Gimel? Can you translate Gimel?
Yes, I would love to.
Right.
All right. Will you read it for me though? That's like really helpful when you say it.
All right. Hamayim, hayu, min, bor. This is a new, I think mine is a new word. It's 49.
I'll try to find what I know out of it. Okay, I think it's are not, the middle part.
Right here. This is from Hayah, the copula Hayah, but now it's plural. So we might not know enough vocab to do this as easily.
Well, just because it's plural, so that's the sea, right?
Yeah, so the water was the hey, patak, and the doubling is the, mayim is water, the water was, min, we just talked about min as one of the prepositions, what does it mean?
The from.
Good. From, and I don't know where bore was as a vocab word. I think it was a little while ago.
Yeah, that was a couple of chapters, one of the earlier ones.
Yeah, I think it's in our reading.
Like reading one, yeah.
So bore, you have to bore a well, right?
Mhm.
That's how I remember that one. So the water was from a well. The water was from a well. I'll just do Dalit. Yesh Mayim Bayamim. There is water in the sea. There is water in the sea.
Okay, so right. So in this vocabulary, it's like yem is sea or mayem?
Yeah,
Is it
so
mayem?
mayim is water, and yam is sea. And this one's plural, so you can take seas. There is water.
Okay, I see it. I'm sorry. I was getting confused with the sea. Okay.
So they're clearly related. Mayim and yam are clearly related, water and seas. So because they both have to do with water, obviously. So there is water in the seas. And then this one, Hanahash Haya Al Haaretz. Anybody know Nahash?
Snake.
Serpent.
Good. Snake or serpent. What does the hay on the front tell us?
The.
Definite article.
Good. Definite article. The snake, Haya. Haya.
Is. Or possesses. Has. No.
This one.
Or is.
Over or upon?
Upon Haaretz.
The land.
The land.
How do we know? Okay, so is that part of the vocabulary that all, it's upon.
Yeah, 49. We're staring
Okay.
at 49. While we're
Those are the little words that you see all the time, yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about these little tiny words. The prepositions in all languages, in my experience, not that I've experienced many, but are the most challenging part of a vocabulary. They tend to be very small, and they tend to have a lot of different meanings. So the ones I really want you to focus on are the 4 on page 48, and then the 2 that are in page 49, all and lifnei. When you look at the chart, there are several other ones listed there. We don't need to worry about those ones nearly as much as those 6 that I just pointed out on page 48, the 2 in the Davarim Hadashim section on page 49. Context will almost always tell us how to translate a preposition, so we don't need to stress out too much about it, but we need to be able to know that there's a preposition on front of this word. And right here, we need to be able to find the preposition. Translating it, that's kind of a fluid exercise that comes from context. So try not to worry too much about that part of it. All right, so let's see here. We did prepositions. We also need to talk about the conjunction vav, which is the word and. So right on the top of page 48, we see it says conjunction and then it has a vav with a shva underneath it. In Hebrew, if you want to say and, you just put the vav on the front of a word. So if you were making a list of things to buy at the grocery store, you would put a vav in front of each of your nouns. So milk, eggs, the, bread, the, and on you go. Typically, can I ask everyone to mute their microphones? I'm getting a bit of feedback. Typically in a list of nouns, the vav is on all of the nouns. So this and this and this and this and this. If you have a list of names, you'll get the vav on all of them. So Joseph and Abraham and Isaac and Sarah and on and on and on we go. In English, obviously, we don't do that. Normally, the vav or the and is only between the last 2 nouns. So that's the first function of the vav, is to join together nouns in a list. The second function is to join sentences together. So Hebrew has no punctuation. There's no periods. There's no commas. There's no parentheses. Nothing at all. We just have all of these sentences that are joined together from the beginning of the book until the end of the book. The only thing that separates out sentences is the conjunction vav. most sentences will have a vav in between them. So this is essentially functioning as a period in a sense. And you could translate it as and if you wanted to, but in English it's not necessary. So we can just put a period in and move on to the next sentence and not translate the vav. So we can look at an example of a vav right here. So we see it right there, the vav and then the shva underneath it. And it's just pronounced v at the very beginning. So v, hine, and look. Ein Yosef Babor. There was not, or so Joseph is the subject of this. Joseph was not in the well. So, and look, Joseph was not in the well. So we could translate the and at the front if you wanted to, or you could just say, look, Joseph was not in the well. It's up to you as a translator. If you think it sounds good in English, great. If not, it's not necessary, and you can just keep on going. So that's the conjunction vav. It's the most common word in the Hebrew Bible. It's everywhere because it's joining almost every sentence of the Hebrew Bible with the sentence that follows it. And it's also used within sentences to join nouns that happen to be within lists. All right. Any questions about the conjunction vav? It's a vav with the shva underneath it. All right. So we talked about lesson 12, which is ein and yesh. There is not and there is. And then lesson 13, the conjunction vav and our prepositions. So prepositions just add prepositional phrases to sentences. And indirect objects are almost always found in a prepositional phrase. So I hit the ball to, or I hit the ball on, or I hit the ball whatever. With a preposition. So I hit the ball to the field or to the person. The final thing we need to talk about is in lesson 14, and these are question words. If we hadn't already had enough little words, we definitely have now by lesson 14. Look at that list on page 51. I have it also on the screen here. So there's quite a list of different ways to ask questions. All of them have equivalents in English, so it's not unusual that there's such a list, but it is kind of difficult because they're so small and they all have similar meanings. But let's back up just a little bit. If you want to ask a yes or no question, you begin that question with the interrogative hey. The hey with the hatak patak, the shva with the little line next to it, the patak next to it. So if your question is yes or no, you can start it with the interrogative hey. For all other types of questions, you will start it with a question word, such as we see here. So I want to go through these. Some of them we've been introduced to already, and some of them we have not. So these are divrei she'elah, words of questions or question words. So me, we've had. Me means who. We had that back in lesson 6. Ma means what. So all of these get added to those list of words that sound like English words but have alternate meanings. They're a little tricky. So he is she, who is he, me is who, ma is what. I remember ma by saying, what, ma? What? Right? Every time my ma says something, I say, what? Lama and madua. Lama and madua mean why. This one actually literally means for what. You see the lamed there means for, and the ma right there means what. So for what or why, for what reason. Madua means why as well, but it's a little tricky. Do you see this patak right there? This is a fancy word for you that you can share with all your friends. That is a furtive patak. Because the ayin is a guttural, it needs a little extra help. So we've added in another vowel. A Hebrew word cannot end in a vowel, so we have to move it over to the right a little bit. And we essentially have 2 vowels in a row. Madua. Madua. Right? So that's a furtive patak. You pronounce it before the consonant that it comes under. And that's why it's kind of justified to the right a little bit. You'll only find it underneath gutturals. It will not be found underneath any other letters. So madua. We have bama, means how. And this is also a composite preposition with a bait and ma put together. So in what means how, or in what way? How should I do that? In what way should I do that? And then ache also means how. How can I do this again? It aches so much. That's how I remember that one. Ache. Kama, how much or how many. It's also a composite preposition. The kaf we had earlier in the previous lesson means like or as, and it's joined with ma. Like what? That one doesn't translate too well. The composite preposition doesn't connect that well with what it means when we put them together, but it means how much or how many. Like if we were trying to buy something in Israel, we'd say kama, how much? Mata means when. Mata. Mata means when. All three of these mean where. You'll notice they have something in common. The aleph and the yod are found in each of them, right? Aleph yod, aleph yod, aleph yod. There's just longer ways of saying where. They mean exactly the same thing. It's just a stylistic issue. So a, ye, and a fo. I kind of remember these by thinking these would be really good words to yell out the door at your kids, right? Where are you? You can yell these really loud. They're very simple, and I think the sound would carry very nicely. Yay! Where are you? So where? I think a foe is the word that God uses when he's hunting for Adam and Eve in the garden. He's trying to find them. Where are you? He says. Maybe you want to say from where? Where are you from? You say me ayin. So this is from. You notice the mem on the front means from, and then ayin means where. From where? And then where or to where, if you want to ask where I should put something, you say on or anna. Where should I put this? You put it on the table. Where? On the table, right? On or anna. That's how I remember that word. Okay. The most important thing from this list is that you can look at them and think to yourself, this is a question word. The sentence is going to be a question. What type of question? You got to figure that out based on context a lot of the time, because these words are very difficult to memorize. So do try to memorize them. That's very important. But don't get too frustrated if they're not sticking in your head that well. Your main task is to recognize them as question words. So when you come across them, you're like, man, I don't know if that means where or if that means when, but at least you know that it's a question. And based on the context, you'll be able to figure out which one it actually means. All right. All of these words will appear at the beginning of a sentence. So just like the interrogative hey gets put on the front, all of these words will begin the sentence. So no matter what you're trying to say, we always begin our sentence in this way, right? Any questions on these question words? All right. It's a nice fun list, right? I think you'll be left doing vocab work and preparing for your quiz. Let me just briefly bring up the quiz just for the fun of it, because we have a couple extra minutes. GFU Hebrew quizzes. What quiz are we on? Aha. All right. So I'm going to pull up pictures from the reading. So you want to be more familiar with the reading. So make sure you're taking a look at that, doing the exercises that were assigned from the reading. And you're going to be describing these things. So you'll fill in the blank. Timale et hamakomot means fill in the blanks. So he is, what is he? Anybody know what he is or it is? You can unmute your mic and tell me how you might fill in that blank.
Seuss.
Yeah, so you would just write Seuss. Husus. It is a horse. Okay, great. You could also say other things. Behemoth. It is an animal, right? He, she, right? Referring to this one. What would you write here?
Susa.
Susa. Good. So now this one is referring to all the horses, but you got to write in the appropriate pronoun that corresponds with this ending. These ones are going to refer to this picture. These ones are going to refer to this picture. Working with vocab and with our pronouns. This is going to be the main thing that you're going to want to focus on for the quiz, is your vocab from the reading and your pronouns. All right. So we learned a lot of new grammatical stuff, but none of that matters for the quiz for tomorrow. We'll come back to the grammar tomorrow evening at what time? 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. We're meeting at 6, from 6 to 8. And we'll start with this quiz. All right, enough cheating. You got an idea of what the quiz is supposed to be like. Any questions left over from this grammar? We just pushed through it real quick, but it's our first look, right? So we'll get our second look tomorrow. Any questions? Okay. Well, I can let you all go then. We'll say lehitrot, which means see you later. And we'll say toda rabah, which means thank you very much. I can hang out for a little bit if anybody wants to work on homework, any of the exercises. You feel like just working through them together. Maybe you haven't finished them. We can all just hang out and do a little bit of our homework. But for those of you that want to take off, we will see you next time, which would be tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Go ahead, Katie. Yeah. Oh, Katie's saying bye. I thought
Lehitrot.
Lehitrot.
Yeah, lehitrot. Sorry, I'd like to stay, but I have to go.
No problem. No problem. Lehitrot. Sarah, did you have anything you want to work on, or are you good?
No, I was going to hear what everyone else. I worked on it, but I always like checking.
Cool. Well, I mean, we can check on it if you want. It's I got time. So.
No, you're fine. I have to go to a meeting anyways. Thank you so much.
Have a nice meeting. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.